Now it's time to build the coin sensor, or rather install it. We've already built it. So we'll need this part that we haven't seen in a while since we cemented it early on. This is the coin sensor frame, it's called. And then you'll need these coin sensors we built and pre-wired earlier. This is the lower coin sensor, and then this is the upper. And the upper is the one that has the angles in it here. And the lower is more of a strict like U shape, like this. So the way that things work here is that we're going to screw the coin sensor into the bottom of our box, and it will hold the lower coin sensor like this, and the upper coin sensor in the second set of tabs that are cut into it, or slots that are cut into it. And you can see now how this is going to put these two different pieces of foil far enough apart that they don't touch, but close enough together that when a coin is in contact with the lower and the upper sensor at the same time, the coin itself, the metal of the coin, will complete the circuit and detect the coin deposit. So we can get into that a little bit more later. I want to remind you of something from that you might recall from when we assembled this in the first place, and that is, if you look at this, the edges of the vertical uprights, one side has a tiny triangle cut out of it, and the other side is flat. And that lets us install this this frame one of two ways, depending on the coin sensor behavior that we want. And the way that I like is with that triangle cut out facing the rear of the machine. And the difference is that the lower coin sensor will be held at a slightly higher angle that way, which I believe helps slow these coins down entering the machine on their way to strike the coin sensor. So I'm going to recommend that we install this with the tiny triangle cutout facing the rear of the machine, and we'll go over that. I'll probably repeat that way more times than you care to hear. I also have two 8mm screws and two nuts for this part, and we'll also need our box for this. So I'll grab that. Now, if we look down inside the box, we have these 4 large holes that are cut for us to put screws into if we wanted to mount our Crowbox to a pole. But near the front of the machine, we have 2 smaller holes here, 2 3mm holes for our machine screws, and that is where the coin sensor frame will screw in, and it'll live right there. And we'll hold the coin sensors, and they will sit in the slots that they belong, that are cut out of the front of the front panel of the machine. So the first thing I want to do with my machine screws here is I want to push them up from the bottom into those 2 holes, and they have to be held for now so that they don't fall out. So I've got those there, and then I'm going to lower the frame onto them, and I'm going to do that and making sure that the tiny triangle that's cut out of these uprights is pointed toward the rear of the machine. And then I'll just get them down onto those screws there like that. And again, the triangle is on this side, which is towards the rear. And then I'm just going to hand thread these 2 nuts, and I want to leave this loose for now. Because I specifically want to take advantage of the fact that while these nuts are not quite tight, this frame has some play in its position, and that will help us get the coin sensors in. And the reason we go to all this trouble is because I feel like at some point in the future it's going to be necessary to open the machine to either clean these sensors, replace them, which is less likely, or simply put fresh foil on them. So just in case that ever happens, I didn't want to have a coin sensor that was completely cemented into place. So now I'm going to rotate this just a little bit, and we're going to talk about placing this lower coin sensor. So the lower coin sensor has a tab at the end of each of these extensions. And that tab rests on this little piece of acrylic that is sticking out. You should be able to see the baffle of your coin ramps here and over here. And so what we want to do is just get these tabs right into this spot here so that this will accept the rolling coin as soon as it comes down that coin ramp. The gag is we also need to make sure that the coin sensor comes to rest in the frame. So what I do first is what I just did, which is I put those two tabs where they belong. Now I need to get this into the lower slot of this coin frame here. And so I'm going to just gently push it down in there, and if it won't go gently, I'm going to loosen these screws or these nuts just a little bit until this can rock even more. And then, boom, there we go. So now the lower is in, and I just want to make sure that these tabs are pushed down gently where they belong. And for fun, I'll deposit a coin. You can see how it rolls right across that foil there. That's what we want. We want to roll across that foil and strike the other part of the coin sensor, which is the upper, which is the other part. So the upper, you can see it has narrower tabs on either end. I'm trying to get the whole thing in the shot here, but it's a little tough. There we go. It has narrower tabs on either end, but it's a wider part. And those tabs go into these special slots right here that are just outside the slots that the coins will roll in from, or from which the coins will roll in, I should say. But installation is pretty much the same. I'm just going to put those tabs in their slots on both sides, like that, and like that. And now I just want to be careful I don't pinch any wires, and tip this back just a little, and there. Now that coin sensor part is also in the frame. So those are soft installed now, which just means I need to tighten these nuts, and then we'll be done with those. But another fun thing to do is to take the coin box or the coin drawer that we built much earlier and slip that in here, like that, and then watch what happens to a coin. So it strikes that coin sensor, and then the coin sensor derails the coin, and it goes right into our little drawer here, which we can pull out from the front to collect the coins that have been deposited. Just like that. So that's a lot easier than the old way where you had to take the side of the machine off. I think everyone's going to like that a lot better. So to finish the install here, I just want to make this tight. So I just want to push both of the coin sensors forward, make sure that they're in their slots nice and snug, and then tighten these two nuts. And this is a difficult thing to film because I don't really want to upend the machine to do that. But I also want to make sure I push this sensor forward as much as I can. The frame that holds the two sensors. So once that's done, I'm going to have to reach beneath. Now I like to do this with it hanging over the edge of a table, which is even harder to film. But that lets me get my driver up under the machine and turn these machine screws. So I'm doing that now and it's off camera, and I apologize, but what I'm waiting to do here is show you the finished product. So all that I've done there is hang that over the edge of my desk and my lap. I held these machine screws with pliers like this, and I held the nuts, I should say, with pliers, and turned the machine screws from beneath. And now my coin sensor is all installed. Again, I'll test this with some coins. Looks good to me. I'll turn the machine around. so I can test the coin slot on the other side. Good stuff. Looks good. So you'll notice that there's a little bit of play here. That's fine. That's all acceptable. The reason that exists is because these slots in the frame are cut a little bit larger than they need to be, which makes it possible for us to install these at all in the way that we just did. So don't worry about that little bit of motion. It's not going to affect anything, and it's not going to move when the machine's functioning. It's just a little bit of play in the parts. So now that we've done that, the next thing I'm going to do, and I probably won't do this whole thing on camera, but I like to take some of these little wire ties and just start binding these coin sensor wires together into something more of a cable. This will just make things a lot cleaner inside the machine. If you can have one cable instead of two wires, I find that to be a cleaner way to do things. So my kind of personal rule of thumb for this is every couple inches, maybe 50 millimeters or so. And I'm going to keep doing that until I can leave myself about 3 in. So I just realized that I wasn't super great with the camera there. But what I have done so far is bundled those wires and these two together and just clip them together with cable ties. So I'm trying to make up for it now with a better camera angle. So I'll probably do that until I can leave myself about 3 inches of wire at the end of this little cable, or what is that, 75 millimeters. This is the other thing I like about the silicone jacketed wire, the flexible jacket. Lets you really ratchet down these cable ties, which I like. Alright, so a final peek inside at our coin sensor and my little cable that leads away. And the way that we've designed the electronics, you don't need to keep track of which wire belongs to the upper and lower coin sensor at this point. That's why we made them both yellow, because it doesn't matter. We're just going to plug them together into the terminal block for coin sensing, and it'll work either way. So don't worry about losing track of which wire is which. It's not a thing. So that is it for the coin sensor, and we're getting pretty close here. What we'll be doing in the near future is wiring up all the coin sensors, the perch sensor wires to these terminal blocks along with power in our servo. And if I hadn't mentioned it before, this little corner here is where our electronics will go, and that's how we'll keep those secure and stored nicely, and also easily accessible for maintenance and things like that. You just lift it right on out.